welcome back to the European Challenger Series. It's now finally time for Lowland Lions to face the Challenger Juggernaut, Origin. And, you know, coming into this week, in the Origin camp, as with every week, they were looking for the clean sweep. And for Lowland Lions, they've always looked weaker on paper for me, but somehow have picked up wins anyway. And this time they're kind of taking it to the extreme, because against Origin, they're weaker in every single category. Their team play is more sloppy, their champion pools are smaller, and the laners are just not as strong, honestly. So it'll be interesting to see how they cope.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because Lowland Lions looked like they had a very strong start. And you know, it would be fair to kind of say that, but that's because the way their opponents shaped up was potentially weakest first, strongest last. So there's a lot of give and take there, whereas Origin haven't really cared who they're against. They've kind of just steamrolled through everything. It was only Reason Gaming that took them anywhere near the late game, and I mean,
yeah. It wasn't close to a win. It was just late game. So
I guess what we will say is, as we're about to find out soon, was the key phrase.
Yes, I'm pretty excited for this one. But let's take a look at the rosters first. Going from strength to strength, it is that team of Origin. Soaz in the top lane, Amazing in the jungle, Xpeke in the mid lane, and Niels and Miffy in the AD carry and support.
And over on the red side of the map, it is the Lowland Lions white lineup. Morsu in the top lane, Kyrie in the jungle, Kozq in mid with Visility, and Hybrid as AD carry and support.
Yeah, and as we set up for the Tuesday recap, I want to take a second to talk junglers, because I think the difference between Kyrie and Amazing represents the team matchup as a whole, because Kyrie isn't an LCS jungler. His champion pool, from what we've seen, is smaller than Amazing's, and is just outdated, and just doesn't have the experience that Amazing brings to the table.
Yeah, it's difficult when you compare somebody that's been in teams like TSM and, you know, European LCS teams as well, like Amazing. And you can see that their jungle champion pool kind of differs a lot. Amazing has played a lot of Rek'Sai. A whole lot of Rek'Sai.
Yeah, 5 games.
Yeah, exactly. 5 games, whereas over on the other side, 3 games of Elise that a lot of junglers kind of dropped off on. And you can see it reflects the meta against potentially like non-meta in some games is part of why there's a big KDA difference. 8.7 to just under 3 on Kyrie. Yes, there's a lot of other factors, external factors when you look at the rest of the team, how they're performing, but certainly Amazing has done a lot of work, which, you know, he's been a great driving force here for Origin.
Yeah, in terms of individual performances, Amazing has definitely turned up. But in yesterday's games, we saw Origin take the Juggernaut comp out for a spin, and then they logged in the Twisted Fate as well. It was like, why not? But the following video you're about to see is real footage.
It is indeed, and you wouldn't believe it, because here comes a 2v2 outplay in bottom lane. Voidal catches Miffy with that hook as it curved around the minion. This is going to be the first blood of the game, going to Lowland Lions. As we said, this is the game that happened yesterday, as Niels does pick up Visility here. But in from the side comes Kyrie. Kyrie now picking up Nidalee, which is a top-tier jungler, against the Gragas from Amazing. First time we've seen him on that. Kyrie cleans the fight.
And I just cannot stress how well Hybrid played during the early game. You saw it right there, but you'll see it again as he secures 5 kills for Lowland Lions in just 5 minutes and sets Kyrie up with the 2 kills.
Yeah, and of those 5 kills, Kyrie ends up with 4 of them before 5 minutes as well, because he picks up Peke after after he forces a flash, and then Amazing pretty quick to follow there. 4-0 before 5 minutes on this Nidalee.
It seems like all we're seeing is just Origin dying over and over again, but at this point, it's really where Soaz is starting to feel the pain from Kyrie as well in the jungle with that Nidalee.
Yeah, indeed, he really is. Then down to the bottom lane, Kyrie continues the dominance on this map. Now at 7-0, only 13 minutes in, and great spot to be in.
Yeah, and for the next 15 minutes, the game is all Lowland Lions, totaling 4 dragons, 7 towers, and they grab a second inhib here at 30 minutes.
Yeah, great position to be in. Origin tried to get themselves back into the game. They finally get themselves a dragon, but look at the minimap. 3 inhibitors are already down here in favor of Lowland Lions. So it's been a bit of a bloodbath of a game.
Yeah, but not in the right way for Origin. The late game comp, this Juggernaut comp, just can't hold under the weight of Morsu, who are 8-1-4 at this point, and 10, 5, and 7 respectively. Lowland Lions just saw the weakness in the armor and they just never let go.
No, they didn't, and they handed Origin their first loss. A somewhat convincing loss as well.
Yeah, 26-13.
Man, I mean, we've expected good things from Lowland Lions, but I think nobody would have expected.
Yeah, it's like I was
Origin
saying, they
loss.
always lose on paper and then they just win anyway. So
Yeah.
well, let's take a look at some of the stat lines, because Kyrie, we just said it before, but 10, 5, and 7. It really was, though, Hybrid who set up the early game. He got those 5 kills very early on. He passed the baton to Kyrie, who then followed up, killed all the lanes, who then passed it to Morsu, who just took it to late game with the Irelia.
Yeah, exactly. Morsu just performing really well, 9, 1, and 4 as well. And you already alluded to Hybrid on his Thresh. 1, 2, and 16 is a great spot to be in. You saw that 2v2 win at the beginning of the game, and they started as they meant to go on. And
He just never stopped.
great spot. Interestingly enough, Amazing kind of didn't have the best game. And we spoke to Amazing
We
a couple
did.
of weeks back when he was here in Berlin doing the analyst test segment for the LCS. And we had a long conversation about Challenger, and he said to us, and he said, you can quote him on this, so Maurice,
we're
we're
gonna
going to
do
do
it.
it. We're going to quote you, because he said, if Origin lose, it's likely because one of the players is playing bad / trolling, is what he said. These are his
These
words.
are the words coming out of his mouth. It's okay, because we're quoting here.
And didn't want to be carried. And I put it to you, Maurice, that it was your stat line in the game on Gragas that didn't really work out. 1, 6, and 6. So we're just saying, you said to quote you, but Origin have lost. Their first loss here in the European Challenger Series. And hey, maybe we'll see another one. Maybe Lowland Lions can do it again.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, their clean sweep is gone. It's out
Yeah.
of the window. No longer
Gone.
going to go for 10 and 0, and same at the bottom of the scoreboard, because there's no longer going to be a complete loss all the way from ours. So, yeah, kind of incredible how it all worked out. But yeah, it's that being said, though, I kind of want to touch on like the stakes that were up for both of these teams,
Yeah.
because Lowland Lions, it was very important for them that they picked up a win against Origin, because it helped their seedings tremendously towards the top of the table,
Yes.
whereas Origin, they were locked in #1 regardless. But still, when you're a team like Origin, you don't want to drop a game at all.
No.
Like, if you go 10 and 0, it puts the fear of God into your opponents as you head into playoffs, but it's just shown that they can bleed.
Yeah, and that was going. You read my mind, because I was about to say it's the whole "if it bleeds, we can kill it" thing, which is what now Team Dignitas have to look at. And interestingly enough, something I want to look at from that composition, they were running kind of like it was almost the Juggernaut. You had the 2 supports. The Twisted Fate was a little bit weird. The Gragas doesn't exactly lend itself to that. It was kind of like almost there.
Yeah.
But that's the same composition that they lost a game to Team Dignitas Europe in the Road to Gamers Assembly, I believe it was, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was a Protect the Cogmore composition, and it's the only composition that we've seen Origin struggle with in Challenger. Now, Team Dignitas know they've already won a game,
Yeah.
so Origin now have to not play that composition, because they won with it once, they've lost with it twice, that I've seen. Maybe don't go for that composition so much? Who knows?
Well, on that bombshell, let's head into Champion Select. So let's see how this game will work out. I have to feel that Origin will not expose themselves to the weakness that apparently is their Juggernaut composition. So I feel like they're not going to pick up here.
Yes and no, it's a weakness, because it worked fantastically well the one game it did.
But it's the only thing they've lost in, so it's a correlation stress.
That was the game that Niels did get that quadra on. That was it's kind of like a really heavy coin flip, is that they're either going to smash people or Kyrie's Nidalee is going to just run all over them. I wonder whether the Nidalee is actually going to be banned out in this game as well.
Let's see. But what is for certain is Ari has been banned out against CosQ in the mid lane. Maokai comes in as the response fire from Lowland Lions, aiming towards Soaz. Interesting. And then Cassiopeia again at the mid lane, so just banning away CosQ.
Lots of bans here so far from CosQ, as you already alluded to. Lowland Lions are now on the red side. Wouldn't be surprised to see them take away some of the higher priority bans. You're looking at the likes of a Rek'Sai, a Nidalee, a Lulu that we've seen banned out consistently. There is the Nidalee.
Yep.
Lowland Lions, there's still 2 bans to go in this game. I wonder what is going to be available and what isn't.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure. So Kyrie,
There's a
obviously,
lot.
there is a lot. This is 5.5,
Yes.
remember, so the champion pools have just exploded, so we could see literally anything. But Nidalee, of course, Kyrie was playing it yesterday, really, really good. He likes his transform champions. I was talking to him about it. He really loves them at the moment, so we'll see if he goes for one of those. Unlikely we'll see a Jace jungle. Rek'Sai comes in from Origin as a ban.
That's
so now,
interesting.
Yeah, now we've taken away Nidalee and Rek'Sai. Swajani's still open. We'll see what these teams go for their jungles.
Yeah, they had the ability to just first pick Rek'Sai, and they didn't
So
actually
what do they
go
want,
for
Stress?
it. That's a good question. Maybe they're looking for a mid laner here, because they banned out 2 mid laners on the side of Origin, away from CosQ. And from there, maybe they're looking for something they can flex, like a Lissandra, like a Lulu is still open if they were to go for it. Something that can flex towards mid lane if they wanted to and pick the matchup. And the final ban is another mid laner, so maybe that was what Origin were actually looking for, was a first pick LeBlanc.
Yeah, it definitely confused Lowland Lions because they took the whole timer to go for that LeBlanc. So it's like, I guess they're going to first pick a mid laner. Let's take away LeBlanc and see what sticks.
Yeah.
So now Origin are taking their time. So they're not as decisive with their first pick, which is kind of what the bans alluded to. So now they're taking their time. They have to rethink their battle plan, or they go for the Lulu.
I mean, it gives them the versatility if they want to go for a Juggernaut-style composition. It gives them a lot of options here. They don't have to run it. They could put it on Soaz, they could put it down in support, they could even put it on Tex, Peke in the middle lane if they really wanted to, if there was nothing else that they wanted. Origin, on the other hand, or Lowland Lions, on the other hand, have the pick of the litter here for junglers, should they wish to choose it. Gragas and Sejuani both available. Those are the kind of the two that are finding themselves in European Challenger, kind of underneath the Rek'Sai Nidalee picks. Both are available. Lots open for AD carry and support as well, so nobody's rushing for a jungler.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do later on, but they secure their AD carry and support. Fresh comes in, so they haven't really given anything away too much at the moment. Corki comes in, of course, can be lane swapped because of that laning phase, of course. It will give them a little bit of siege, depends what they mix it with in their composition. Fresh is, well, for the picking, of course, and then Origin, both of these teams really thinking hard about what they're going to be picking. They're definitely taking their time. And we'll see what Amazing goes for. So we spoke about the junglers. We'll see what he can go for. It'll be interesting if we just pick Lee Sin, because I spoke to Kyrie and I was like, what do you think about this jungle matchup between you two guys? And he was like, well, it's definitely in Amazing's favor, but if there's one matchup I can win, it's if he picks Lee Sin. So I'm like, okay. So apparently he's had some good solo queue adventures in that matchup. So we'll see if Amazing actually takes it and say, I can still beat you with this champion.
That would be an interesting one. Now, we have seen Lee Sin earlier today in LCK, it was played on 5.5, which is kind of weird because a lot of people think that Lee has fallen down and junglers like Gragas have replaced him. But I like this lineup here. Origin actually...
Not Rise the champion.
Origin actually are in a situation that they have 3 flex picks. All 3 of these champions can be played in different spots. We've seen Gragas in the top lane a little bit again, so there's options.
Yeah, they are the ultimate flex comp coming in currently. We'll see if Niels and Miffy also lock in flex champions. Like, we can go anywhere, we can do whatever we want.
There aren't too many flex AD carries.
That'll be an interesting trivia question. It's just like, what can you lock in here that would completely flex your comp? But all right, let's see what Lowland Lions do from now, because we've seen Morsu play some funky stuff in the top lane. Said funky stuff has not worked out very well in both cases. The Wukong, the Fiora.
His Aurelia is available again, though. Should he wish to go for it. He does favor the champions that can kind of carry on their own, and he locks it in. So
what do you know? Sojani comes out as the other top tier jungle pick right now with the Gragas, so as expected.
Yes, indeed. Both of them are fairly similar when it comes to their ultimate and their presence. They have some presence pre-6. It's not overwhelming. It's not the likes of a Rek'Sai or a Nidalee. They are kind of waiting for their ultimates, but you can get a flash or something from a lane, get summoners, and get your way out. Both of them have ults that can be used to engage, primarily Gragas for disengage, primarily Sejuani for engage. They're very similar. I've spoken to a couple of junglers. A lot of people feel like Gragas is a little bit stronger than Sejuani. Other people think the other way around. It's kind of a 50-50. And it's very similar. So now that there's no Nidalee available for this against Gragas matchup for Lowland Lions, I'm interested to see how these two junglers do go head-to-head.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact there is argument over that shows how close they are as junglers, if there is some difference of opinion. But Origin, again, just ticking down the clock and just waiting for what they want here. And it looks like it will be the Graves. So we've kind of seen less Graves, funnily enough, even though Graves is like this top-tier AD carry, but we've just seen people moving away from it in favor of these later game carries because of how the tanks have now come in. And then also we'll be seeing the Malphite coming out. So very interesting. Again, most likely going to be in the top lane, especially with the Gragas coming in here. So we may see the Lulu support.
Yeah, we see the Malphite Aurelia matchup. Or used to see it a lot. Not so much anymore. Only really from time to time just turns it into a bit of a farm lane.
Yeah.
So there's not too much to write home about in that lane. However, this mid lane pick is still to be picked up here for Lowland Lions, which is interesting because right now normally there'd be a champion that stands out, and there isn't, which means people will normally default to something like an Orianna, a Xerath, something that wave clears, something that's consistent and good. I mean, there's no one champion that's left that's like, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah, so it looks like they may swap into this one. I was kind of hoping for a second there that Kozuki would pick Akali because he's a self-proclaimed Akali god, but he claims the E nerf was too much, so he's been going elsewhere. But yeah, it will be that Xerath, as you mentioned, kind of just looking for that wave clear, the long range.
The pick potential gives it's a nice all-around.
Yeah, of course we did have that small hit to the E in the previous patch.
Yes,
we're reducing the maximum stun duration, but still, Xerath.
Yes, indeed. Now, one thing that this Origin composition is going to do very well is blow up one or two people very quickly. You look at a Lissandra ultimate into a Gragas ultimate or a Malphite ultimate or a Lulu ultimate for the knock-up. You get on one person, you burst them down with Graves. That's that team fight done. On the other side of things, Lowland Lions, you look at the distance of their engage actually is fairly intimidating. The Sejuani ultimate goes out quite a far way, especially if you can Q as well and get extra kind of catch-up distance. Xerath has long range. You're looking for Aurelia teleports from the side, Corki rockets, Thresh hooks. Lots of distance between Origin and Lowland Lions, but if anything can close that distance, it's going to be the unstoppable force.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But before the game begins, log on to Twitter and use the hashtags OGWin or LLLwin to cast your vote for the team you think will emerge victorious. And we'll check in with your thoughts throughout the match.
So it's important for us to kind of put into perspective what exactly this match means. For Origin, it doesn't mean too much because although they'd like to go 9-1, they will lock first place even with a loss here. For Lowland Lions, it's very important because they'll need to get this to lock the second place spot regardless of what happens in Game 3. If they lose this, it's a decider between Gamers 2 and Mouse, and that determines who gets second place. So there's still a lot of moving to be done. Lowland Lions can shut that moving out if they can win this game and take that second place spot.
Well, we'll see if the teams or which team will win this game as we head onto the Summoners platform, and we'll see these teams get onto the Rift here. So it is now Team Origin now in the blue side, swapping up their colors from yesterday, and likewise Lowland Lions will be on the red team, sporting those red colors, looking very fly. And Fresh has even got a skin to go along with that. Good job.
Yes, indeed. I wasn't sure.
Nothing to add. So Lowland Lions heading out into their jungle here, fanning out. However, looks like Origin do have something on their mind, something they want to go for. They do have all of those wards ready to go. If they want to go for some deep vision here. Depends whether Lowland Lions want to go for these head-on lanes up against the Graves and the Lulu, up against the Corki and Fresh, or if they decide to lane swap. And so far, it looks like they may just be sitting in those standard lanes. But Origins are moving into this bottom bush. They are currently in the cover of Stealth. And visit... Oh, he's seen them. so as pokes his head out of the bush, got that ward.
Got it. I think the only thing that might not have spotted that out is the guards from Metal Gear Solid.
Indeed, and that's the second ward being placed down, which is instantly cleared out by Origin, so they are making bank right now.
Getting it.
Yeah.
Although,
that's a whole 20-something gold.
Something that Kyrie's getting at this point is information.
So that kind of backfired.
They now have deep wards in the topside jungle to spot out for a lane swap, but honestly, I think Origin will probably actually be confident just sitting in this 2v2 if they can get it. This kind of indicates that maybe Lowland Lions are looking for a lane swap. They don't really want Corki Thresh into Graves Lulu. There's a lot of damage that comes from Graves Lulu.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Where are you going, Visibility?
That's
they do have that deep vision. They haven't seen a SOAS in the top lane yet, so everyone's keeping their hands or their cards to their chest. Visibility taking this long route around, and there's even the ward there to see it. So you thought you were being stealthy, but it wasn't sneaky at all, as Origin will notice this one.
Yeah, indeed. And Lowland Lions probably going to be a little bit unhappy with that one. Corki Thresh, you're going to rely on hitting hooks in this laning phase to get Corki through it, and Soaz is actually going to teleport up to the top lane to try and stop this, or at least get the experience as Irelia is getting her own from the Raptors. Reminder that Raptors did have their damage reduced in this this patch. 5.5 kind of allows a little bit easier of this level 1, but speaking of level 1 bot lane, Miffy's taking a lot of damage here.
So is Visility. He took the Ignite to the face from Miffy as he responds with his own damage. Nils is kind of chilling on almost full HP, so he doesn't take too much damage from that engage, and he'll be dashing forward to a quick draw. He just get dragged into the follows up with a buckshot as well. Visility taking a fair bit of punishment from the bottom lane of Origin. And hey, we talked about that matchup and how not great it is for Corki in the early game, and you can see that right now.
Oh, Amazing's been spotted out, though. Yes, he's going to get a little bit of regeneration there from using his abilities, but he does have to be careful with Xerath pushing across as well. He's going to settle for the Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, he'll take his anger out on the crab.
That's not nice.
It isn't, but he's been drinking, so there we go. We got him. Okay, so he'll get that early vision for the early game, and Kyrie will be sitting in his jungle as well. The blue buff is up. He's just kind of checking what's up, making sure that Amazing doesn't try and smite away his blue buff as he tries to take it. Bot lane again. Niels is farming away. He is definitely ahead in this lane, but the minion wave is heading towards Lowland Lions, so they'll do their best to CS under turret. Mid lane, however, it is Xpeke up against Kozcube on Lissandra versus Xerath. Very interesting so far, as both of them are farming.
And down in this bottom lane again, to kind of bring it back to yesterday's game. Oh, Kyrie. So, 5.5 jungle, Sejuani's main, I guess,
Ooh, this
kind
could
of...
be close.
Yeah, I mean, Sejuani's main takeaway from her is that her sustain throughout the early jungle is a little bit lower than a lot of the other junglers around. You can catch her out early, can put the pressure on. That's not something that Amazing is going to do, but this might have a bit of a knock-on effect now, because Sejuani's either going to have to recall or play it greedy and try and take more camps with her current health. So it's a little bit dangerous here for Kyrie to sit around, and she does actually recall and pick up that Ranger's Trailblazer.
Yeah, opts for the safe route there, which was probably the best option, knowing that Amazing was quite happy to walk into their jungle, saunter around and maybe pick up a camp or two. But bot lane, again, pushing in here. Big CS advantage picked up, and Visility was not able to CS too well under turret.
Yeah, and this is the reverse of yesterday's game. Remember that yesterday it started off with that hook onto Miffy, and in this game it's Origin that are coming out ahead in the 2v2 lane matchup, and they have the stronger 2v2 lane matchup as well. They're at level 4 now, with only the level 3 from Lowland Lions. They have full control of this bottom lane, 11 CS up, but Kyrie is going to try and look to do something about this. Sejuani's presence pre-6 isn't that strong, but maybe a flash Q, they might be able to get this. Miffy's hooked again.
Well, on the back of the Warp Arrow, he goes onto Miffy, does get the Arctic Assault. Visility will be flying in with Valkyrie, gets the auto attack for the first blood coming in. Niels as well responds to some damage onto Hybrid, who will flay him back into his team, but Amazing is here to throw a barrel, says to Visility, do a barrel roll, and he'll just carry on farming.
And at that point, Lowland Lions, again, it's Hybrid setting up these bottom lane engages. Kyrie is there, has to work hard to make sure that they get the kill from that, uses his own flash. But at that time, Hybrid, another hook, the flay landing as well. Hybrid's Thresh, maybe this is something that teams are going to really need to start looking at as a potential ban here against Lowland Lions, because now it's won them two-on-twos in the bottom lane. That time there was a Sejuani in lane as well.
Yeah, indeed. But Kyrie really has just been turning up, not only in the game yesterday, but in today as well. So maybe we'll see a repeat. Maybe we'll see Kyrie and Hybrid also carry the early game for Lowland Lions to get them rolling. They even have that Irelia as well, so they have all the conditions that would create the same scenario.
However, one problem that may come from this attempted gank, so if there are any subsequent attempted ganks by Kyrie, is Amazing is already farming pretty well. 21 CS, yes, Kyrie is about a camp to a camp and a half behind him. But if Kyrie can continue to get into lanes without sacrificing too much CS, they may still be okay here. But it's all about a kind of a race to 6 here. If Amazing can get the explosive cask before Kyrie can get his ultimate, it's going to make a difference in early game team fights. And
the other thing is, in all of the lanes, you can reflect and say the same thing. Top lane's winning in CS, so is mid, so is bottom. And in mid and bottom, they're actually winning by a fair margin. 55 CS to 40 there, 52 to 38. Doing pretty well. And take a look at Soaz's item build as everyone is going back for their kind of first couple items. And he's picked up the Balmy Cinder, the new item that builds into both Sunfire Cape and Cinderhulk. So We'll see where he goes with that one. Presumably, he won't go for the jungle item, as he does not have smite. So, expecting a Sunfire Cape down the line, as his job in the typical Irelia Malphite matchup is to contain the Irelia.
Yep, game of containment, exactly as you put it. And it's one of those funny matchups where you just see Malphite randomly ult a wave of creeps, yep. just to get some farm and to disrupt the Irelia a little bit.
He'll do that.
But, he will. Ooh, hook nearly lands onto Niels, but it wasn't quite in place. And Amazing's, this is the second or third time that he's actually taken it out to the crab. So he's you know, making sure they have control of this lower side of the map, and they're doing that from wards as well. You can see the pink ward already down in lower side river, the ward in the little river bush as well. There's just been good control there. They even cleared out the ward that that Kyrie put down. But Kyrie's over on the other side of the map, and there's not a lot of vision here for Origin. Only the river ward, which Kyrie does not want to be crossing at this point. So if Kyrie can get his effect felt on this top side of the map, it could work out okay. And actually another ward's gone down in mid lane protecting. So Origin, very, very clear game plan to reduce what Kyrie can do.
Yeah, Xpeke has gone back to base, picked up the makings of a Morellonomicon as he's dodging the poke from CosQ. Still behind in that lane is Mr. Xerath. Visibility, though, and Hybrid have noticed there is an Amazing in their jungle. And Visibility will actually be jumping over the wall. Here comes the rain from the sky. Can he land the last? Whoa, he's already used it.
Yep, it's not there. Amazing will get out of this one, but
Niels
there's another
comes
fight.
in from the bot lane. He's now 1-on-4. Can he get away from this? Well, the Shocking Orb keeps him in place. Down comes the Eye of Destruction, and Mithy will respond with the Glitter Lance as well to slow down the whole assault. Niels is trying his desperate attempt to try and get away. Turns around, blast them in the face. It's not quite enough damage. A great ultimate by Kyrie right into the hook from Hybrid. He's ticking down from the Ignite. It's not going to be enough to kill them. The shield as well will just chime in and make sure Kyrie does not die. This is another early game going to Lowland Lions.
It is. They balance the damage there and crowd control pretty well to make sure they caught out Origin. And that all stemmed from 2 wards placed into the Lowland Lions jungle, as Xpeke has been pushing at the same time. But the 2 wards that scouted that Kyrie was not around kind of signal to Amazing that he could invade. CosQ might be caught here.
He just walks straight into lane. He will use his cleanse to try and get out of this. Shocking Orb comes out, but the Ignite is enough damage to tick down and pick up the kill of Xerath as he tries to greedily get back into lane.
So Amazing thought he was safe. It was a good read out of Lowland Lions. They knew they hadn't seen Amazing in a while. He may have been on Grump. He was. They catch him. A lot of damage put down. Amazing can't do anything else, and he's only just hit level 6. That's a very key thing here, because during the fight, Kyrie actually hit his own level 6, and we talked about whichever jungler can get their level 6 first and have their effect on the game is going to win these first little skirmishes. Overall, though, Origin, with the tower going down, have the global gold lead, and they are still in a good spot. But Lowland Lions did pick up a good few kills off that fight.
Yeah, and here we go. Kyrie is sitting in his jungle trying to take his blue buff, but Amazing, despite how that last engage went, he's still trying to get something done in the jungle, but this time he'll choose to back off.
Really important that both mid and bot tower are down now. That's a lot of dragon control that goes over to Origin, and they're going to be able to control that with these deep wards as well that you can see already. Mithy's actually invading as well. He's not level 6, so can't really save himself with his ult if he were to get engaged upon, but not enough vision out from Lowland Lions means they cannot really safely engage on Mithy this early into the game.
I would like to start ringing the alarm bells in top lane, as Morsu is now ahead of Soaz in terms of farm. In fact, he's doing very well. 97 CS at 10 minutes. That's almost dead on perfect. He is slightly behind in gold, as we did have those global objectives of the turrets going down, but in his one-on-one in the top lane, he's actually ahead, if not even in CS, which is pretty much as good as it can get as Irelia versus Malphite.
Sunfire Cape has been picked up on Malphite as expected. Triforce already on the way from Morsu, and that matchup, there's not going to be a whole lot to write home about without jungle pressure there. That's, as we said, it's pretty much a farm lane, and that is how it will stay until Morsu reaches a point where he can just go to another lane and split push for the next 20 minutes. But it might not just be junglers that can have their effect on the top lane, because Xpeke has roamed up, does have his ultimate available as well. If Morsu gets baited in here by Soaz, this could be a quick kill between the 2 ults.
Peke trying to keep himself out of fog of war currently. I feel like Morsu may have caught him on one of the minions' vision because he was just a little spooked there. So Xpeke has read that and will just head to his blue buff instead and trying to waste all of his time. We will be clearing away the blue buff, heading over the wall in one fell swoop, but that has opened up the dragon for Lowland Lions.
Yeah, the pings went down on the top side of the map, so they knew it was one of the Origin players. It could either have been Amazing or Xpeke. So with that kind of overlap of a man, There is a ward in this. They're teleporting in, but the dragon has already gone down.
Wow, he goes for it, and he'll be trying to get an engage here. He moves onto Kyrie. Here comes the claw over the wall. Kyrie goes down, but will the rest of the team be able to get away? It's damage control right now as Hybrid also dies. That's the double kill coming in for Niels at 2-0, but the dragon going over to Lowland Lions.
It does, but what can Origin do from this? Morsu's pushing top lane at the same time. This is kind of like that split push that Aurelia is just going to be able to do for the rest of the game, and the teleport still in advantage for Lowland Lions. This will even up a little bit of the global goal difference. They also got the dragon, as you said. So overall, Lowland Lions,
that's really good.
They'll be okay with that trade. They still gave a couple of kills over to Origin. It just depends on what Origin's next move is. If Origin can prevent Morsu from split pushing and getting more damage done until the next dragon is up, and they can take maybe the top outer tower as well, Origin will still come out ahead.
Yeah, it really depends where the fights are, because while they won that, there was nothing to take. They've already taken mid, they've already taken bot, so they just settled with a little bit more vision around the area. They actually didn't go too far into the Lions jungle and place down aggressive wars. There's only one there at Gromp, I can just see. So yeah, it depends where they take the fights.
And I really like this power play here out of Origin. They've spotted Corki in the bottom lane. They'll even spot Morsu now on a ward that's in the jungle. It's only Kyrie that's in the top lane, and Origin have put their bottom lane up here with Soaz. It's a very fast tower, and this is the problem that I was talking about, is Lowland Lions would have taken that last fight, but Origin have reacted well. They had the advantage. They've translated that gold advantage now into item advantage, and now they're going to start pushing lanes.
Yeah, they're sitting on the Infinity Edge for Neil, so he starts to hit spikes, and on the opposing side, Facility, he's a fair ways off his Trinity Force, but Origin keep up the assault on top lane.
They do, and they can do this for now while they've got minions. Kyrie now taking damage, but Origin just need to reset for the minion wave to join, because Corki is still in this bottom lane, and they know Hybrid has only just recalled, so they may be able to pressure the inhibitor. Malphite's coming around the backside of this top tower. His ultimate is just about to come up as well, so Origin can actually take this fight. All 5 members here for them are in the top side of the map. Lowland Lions have to be very, very careful.
So they take the top turret, the top inner turret here from Origin, and that will be Lowland Lions continuing the push in bottom lane with Facility. Can they maintain the vision over Origin and try and disrupt the recalls? They're not even interested in doing so. However, more so over the wall with Hybrid, looking for the hook, doesn't land it onto Amazing this time around. Facility still has a little bit until the bot lane arrives. Doubt he can take the turret, but he can at least damage it a little.
There's a lot of damage going down onto it, but Facility has to start hightailing it out of there. Niels is going to show up, the wave will...
He'll be leaving.
Not be cleared by the Q, but Niels does clear it out. But I want to talk about how smart that play was out of Origin. They knew that Morsu had teleport advantage, so with Corki the other side of the map, they just make sure that Morsu has to be with the team. And now they're just waiting out the cooldown on Soaz teleport before the next dragon coming up. Origin are in a great spot here. Lowland Lions are still okay. They just need to get these last couple of objectives, this last outer tower down. But Malphite's waiting over the wall. Amazing has his ultimate as well. There is a lot still here teamfight-wise for Origin. Lowland Lions are stepping forward.
Amazing. Looking for it. Not quite in range for him to knock someone back into the team. Again, Soaz was not quite in range for the unstoppable force, but... yeah, so far, Origin haven't really fallen behind Lowland Lions, but it is also the engage onto Kotsky, trying to get this pick in. That's
Great
a big ultimate from Kyrie, landing onto 4. That's the first kill. In fact, not going down. It will be Kyrie instead. Everyone's getting locked up by Lowland Lions. A prolonged fight is going the way of Origin. Morsu has now arrived into the fight. He's looking for the Transcendent Blades onto Xpeke. He goes onto Mifu for his second. There's the double. A 2 for 3 overall in favor of Origin. Maybe they can pick up a little more as Fidelity turns around. Blast Soaz with the phosphorus bomb. Kotsky with the damage going down to him with the smoke screen coming in for a little more as well. There's the Arcano Pulse. Does tag Soaz on the backside. And that was a 3 for 2 overall for Origin. So they come out ahead in terms of the fight, and they maintain their gold advantage over Lowland Lions.
They come out ahead. Origin looked like they kind of forced that fight just a little bit, and something that they'll be comfortable with is certainly 91% of the fan vote here, but that was a little bit of a forced fight by Origin. They knew that they could get the explosive cask down on to Kozku, and it was a good start for the fight. However, I don't think they were kind of anticipating Kyrie's ultimate in response. And that really was nearly a fight changer here for Lowland Lions. And in some respects it was, because it allowed them to pick up a couple of kills there. They have to respect the Sejuani. That is something that they cannot overlook. However, the fight did go in their control at the end of it. And Niels, if he'd had a little bit more mana, could have cleaned that fight up.
Yeah, so while Lowland Lions were able to pick up those early kills in the early game, they haven't really built up a lot advances in terms of gold because the lanes were always behind in terms of CS, and they picked up the turret stat being from Origin. So they are still ahead in this game, which is different from yesterday. Lowland Lions controlled it all the way through. So they still have the tools available from them, but Origin definitely keeping it together in this one. And as they gear it for the Dragon, and see what items they've decided to start picking up, and Morsu has picked up a fairly large power spike in the form of his Trinity Force, and is heading towards the Blade of Ruin King as well. So not actually opting towards the Zephyr that we've seen so much in EU.
And this is really interesting. This is what you do on a Jax, which it's for split pushing. It means you can duel a lot better. Zephyr's kind of the item that normally people would pick up. Peke.
He's moving on to Peke. Well, he goes down. Peke doesn't even use his ultimate. He dies too quickly.
And
amazing with a big ultimate, but he might be able to get away. Here comes the right of the Arcane. There's two right onto Greg as he also goes down. A 2 for 0. And Lowland Lions again getting these picks.
Right as Dragon is coming up as well. This is a great turnaround here for Lowland Lions. Well worked as well. Morsu, as you said, has reached that power spike with that Bilgewater Cutlass now as well. A little bit unorthodox. It's more of kind of and I'm going to try and carry this game out on my own and replicate yesterday's scoreline from Morsu. But that's the second Dragon of the game now going over to Lowland Lions. And I mean, this game is certainly on here. Origin cannot sit back and rest.
No, they cannot. Origin don't look lost in this game. It's honestly, they just get a little too cocky. They just go forward a little too far, and that gets punished by Lowland Lions. It's not been Lowland Lions making plays, it's been them capitalizing on the mistakes coming out from Origin. Very similar to yesterday. And yesterday, yes, they kind of underestimated Lowland Lions because they just kind of walked into hooks, walked into ganks. But this time around, they knew what they were coming into. They played against them yesterday. They knew how it was going to go, and yet still make these decisions as if they just expect to win in every scenario.
It's a little bit weird, but at the same time, I don't want to say Origin aren't playing to win, because they are. They want as many wins as they can get, but there certainly does feel like a sense of we've secured our playoff spot already. About some of the decision making, it's not quite as cut and dry as
crisp, for sure.
as the Origin at the start of the season, where they were battling for wins. But I mean, you contrast that to Lowland Lions. A win here secures them the second seed, and second seed, whoever takes third seed from the end of it, it would be Gamers 2 actually. Second seed gets the decision of sides for games 1, 3, and 5. And that's a really, really big thing here going into the, or 1 and 3, going into those best of 3s.
Yeah, and Lowland Lions really can influence that if they do pick up another win here. And still, Origin, we keep saying this, but they are still ahead in terms of gold, even if very slightly. Doesn't mean a whole lot until they open it up a little more. And they do have these two big tanks on the front line, so as an amazing. They'll be able to take a lot of damage from the back line from Lowland Lions. And Xpeke, if he does use his ultimate on himself, he'll be in a much better position. There's the engage from Amazing. May have core hybrid. That's a lot used on the support there. That would be the return of the ultimate from Kyrie onto the back line. So as uses his ultimate onto Kozq here, Miffy will continue the assault. Amazing now comes in to look for the damage. Kyrie will fall down as well. That's a 3-4-0. Origin just turn it on.
Yeah, they had all their ultimates available, and again, they just use them in synergy and make sure they pick up somebody from Lowland Lions, and then somebody's certain to fall as a quick second. And Origin, from here, they got two lanes pushing in towards them, top and bottom, so they kind of have to deal with that. And Morsu and Visality are comfortable enough with holding this middle lane for now, so Origin just need to clear out the top and bottom and reset themselves potentially for another fight. No Dragon for a good few minutes yet, so it's all on the tower pushing here from Origin, and they have to stop Morsu from getting into split push mode.
Yeah, they have a fair bit of wave clear though, so as the Rock of Containment in top lane. Xpeke with the huge amount of wave clear from Glacial Path and the Ice Shard mid lane. Bit of an engage here. And Visality takes some hits. Soaz comes in with the cheese wheel and does some damage in return. So they try to harass that turret down. It goes around to 20% remaining. We'll see if they decide to keep it up. Dragon is not going to spawn for a little while. Hybrid does not land his hook. And some players have gone back to base, picked up a couple more items here. Corki is now sitting on his Trinity Force, has not decided to go for the tier 2 just yet. Has the makings of even a Last Whisper if he wants to go for it. Depends what he decides to go for next, but everyone has gone for their trinkets. Interestingly, SOAS has not gone for the upgraded vision totem. It's actually gone for the sweeping lens instead.
That's something that, you know, some top laners are bringing in. It depends on who you talk to. Again, like junglers with their jungle picks, there's a lot of variety right now. Sweepers obviously going to give you the ability to control the enemy vision a lot easier, whereas if you have more wards, you're making the enemy vision control harder. It's kind of a weird two-sided system where in this case SOAS just wants to make sure that they're reducing the enemy vision as much as possible. Peke is going to clear this bottom lane out, and the rest of Origin are actually pushing in the middle lane ever so slightly. They have to be careful that they don't get caught out with the numbers, but at this point in the game, I think you can safely say to SOAS, remove the rock of containment and attach the rock of engagement, because it is now all on the ultimates from SOAS. If he can cross that distance, and we've seen him already get into the backline. If they can get it onto Xerath along with the Gragas ults, that is exactly how the team fights need to start from Origin. They've already done it multiple times.
Secure the crab. That is Neil's current mission. He's been taken over from Amazing, who was doing it early game. 1 minute remaining now onto the Dragon. We could see a clash between these two teams. Lowland Lions have all of them so far. Ooh. Be nice if Origin could pick one up or even find a pick before that Dragon goes down. That would definitely secure it for them. But they are trying to keep up the aggression and are putting up the vision around the area.
Origin, if they were choosing to fight this, would need to pop somebody before Morsu can teleport in, because the teleport advantage is in favor of Lowland Lions. So they always will have Morsu as this split-pushing threat, and you can see that SOAS now has been forced over to the top lane. As soon as he shows, actually, if Lowland Lions can get a good ultimate here from Sejuani, it might be a good enough position for Morsu to look to teleport in if they really want. They know that SOAS is top lane, and they did see Graves in the bottom lane. This would potentially be a slight hesitation or a missed opportunity, but they're more focused on the wards here for Lowland Lions and Origin.
Yep, sooner or later there's going to be an Aurelia teleporting on one of those, so have to be a little careful with that one from Amazing. But 79 currently, still 4.5k advantage, has not shifted too much over the last couple minutes. 2 towers advantage to Origin as well. And now with the Dragon spawning in 10 seconds, that's where all of the eyes from both of the teams will be looking towards. The middle wave is cleared out as well, so this is not going to be pushing. Neither will top lanes, kind of just petering out into a stalemate. This Dragon will be started by Origin, though. And this is a little scary, because a good Sejuani ultimate from the side could open this one up for them. There it is. Only lands on Amazing. He'll go for it. Doesn't manage to get the steal. This is the Dragon going over to Origin. They will go for the fight. Kyrie taking some damage. SOAS and Peke in the back line. They manage to take down Kozku, but will be at the cost of their own lives. Kyrie also goes down. There's the double kill. Visibility has to jump away. SOAS will follow with the cheese wheel and the auto attack for the kill. That's another kill onto support of Hybrid. Morsu was the only one remaining. He was not able to get into the team fight in time. 4 for 0. Dragon goes over to Origin, and they're looking towards Baron.
It was a good ult from Kyrie to start that fight off, but the key factor from Origin was SOAS put himself in between Sejuani and the rest of the team. The only player from Lowland Lions that managed to get to the back line of Origin was Morsu as intended, but he couldn't deal the damage fast enough and he had to peel away. Good ult out of Kyrie to try and get into the fight, but SOAS and Peke get straight into the backline and just completely annihilate both Visility and Kozku. Morsu's going to get himself a turret here, but it is a consolation prize as the Baron and the Dragon both went over to Origin, and that really puts Lowland Lions in a tough spot here, because now there's no way that Morsu's going to be able to split push for the next few minutes if somebody goes and sits in that lane and gives that Baron buff over to the minions in front of Morsu.
Yeah, really well played from Origin over the last couple minutes here. Really just playing the objective game. As you mentioned, taking the Dragon and the Baron, have decided to pick up some more of their items now. Got the Zhonya's Hourglass completed on Peke. Niels as well on his way to his 3rd item, whereas in the jungle, Amazing just picked up 2 Ruby Crystals. And top lane, that is the Chain Vest coming in for SOAS. So they're getting stronger and stronger, where Lowland Lions have kind of just been caught out and not quite made the plays that we saw from the early game from them.
Another item that's kind of emphasizing the amount of engage that Origin have right now is the Talisman of Ascension on to Lulu. It's not exactly the most orthodox item. This has been completed fairly quickly, actually, and it just allows SOAS to just run in and ult. It's very similar to Civic compositions, where we'll see the item sometimes built on an Annie after the laning phase later into the game. So it's a very similar vein of the fact that you just get SOAS into the backline and get the fight going.
Yeah, I mean, so far they've managed to do it, especially with XPeke and the SOAS tag team getting onto the backline of CosQ. He dropped in that last team fight very quickly, and they just didn't really have a recourse. Visibility going all the way to Hybrid, taking the Fresh Express. And they'll head into the top lane here. Cairo will be leading the charge on his mighty Poro steed. And he'll take away this minion wave. So in the mid lane, Origen will be doing the same. Morsu's trying to abduct the minion wave. So they'll be trying to stop that push from coming in. Look at the vision control from Origen, though, in that jungle of Lowland Lions. And I don't feel like we're going to have a base race, but this is a nice movement play by Lowland Lions, quickly taking the top turret.
Yeah, they're going to trade the inner turrets as well, which when you're behind Lowland Lions, I actually take that. Ooh,
there's a teleport.
Teleport comes out from Morsu. They actually managed to hold it. Good play at Lowland Lions. How much do they lose?
It's 4 versus 4. Can they make the best of the situation? Amazing goes down to the right of the Arcane. Hybrid taking some damage. SOAS is there to try and clean him up, but he's taking a lot of damage in return as Visibility kites back. XPeke is now aggressing onto him. There's the ultimate to take down the AD carry. We'll be following up with the Glacial Path. Tags him with the Ice Shard, and CosQ not long for this world, and Miffy will be the one to secure the kill. Another 4 kills go over to Origen, this time at the cost of Amazing, but he's not going to be too unhappy with that result.
They managed to strip the Baron buff off Amazing. The rest of Origen still have it on a couple of members for about a minute or so more. But Origen, they've been caught sleeping a little bit with this Baron buff. Niels tried to get into the bottom lane to kind of even up that turret push, but you had to be a little bit afraid if you're Lowland Lions. Because of the engage out of Origen, they have a very strong 4v4 once the Irelia is gone, because there's not really any way of getting into the Origen backline without a good Sejuani ult into Irelia jump in. So Morsu using his teleport was enough of a signal, and we can actually see this again completely. So at this point, they know Morsu's teleporting in. So what's the instant reaction from Origen? In fact, Amazing got caught out to begin this fight. We didn't quite catch that the first time, and it explains why SOAS held his ultimate for so long in this fight. He's still got it, and he's not used it until he absolutely needed to lock down Visibility along with XPeke. And very smart on the map. Niels actually shoved mid lane in at exactly the same time and forced Morsu to come mid and deal with that and not just sit in the bottom lane and just push it forward. Yeah,
really well played by Origen there, and yeah, that just kind of shows their experience. Even when they were a little bit behind in the early game, perhaps, they're definitely just picking up in these team fights. Now 17-8, you can just see how many team fights they've won in a row. Now they look to close in around Morsu. He doesn't have his teleport, so he's going to be having to walk it out. He's 1 versus 4. There is the Ring of Frost. That'll be keeping him in place. Nils as well follows up with some damage, but it looks like SOAS, the opposing top laner, may be in the same position. He has his ultimate. Will he be using it here, or will? Yes, he will. He'll head towards his team. Ooh. Right to the Arcane, dancing shoes. He gets away. Happy feet. And he gets out of that engage. So only one of the top laners goes down. And now Lowland Lions, they're still pushing out of their base despite being 4 versus 5. However, Visibility is pushing the top lane. And everyone from Reason is actually recalling forward. Amazing has been caught here. There's the Shocking Orb on top of the CC. He uses his own ultimate to try and keep himself alive. Will be body slamming and flashing away. Lowland Lions no longer interested.
Wow,
Visibility takes the top inhib turret. Back. Now the middle lane as well is being pushed in by Lowland Lions. They're taking so much for this. And XPeke was meanwhile pushing the bottom lane. Not sure if he'll take it in time. Lowland Lions, will they be caught with their pants down though? Because Miffy is coming in from the right-hand flank. He might be able to just jump in from behind with his ultimate. He has everything available. He gets the picks down to try and slow him out, but CosQ will just keep the team running. Visibility
still chasing.
Kind of caught in no man's land, but no one knows he's there. No one's even been looking at him and what he could possibly be doing. He Valkyries towards the inhib. Now people are recalling. Amazing is now going back. Teleport from SOAS. Interrupted by Kyrie, and SOAS will still carry on tanking. Can they catch up the Lowland Lions lineup? That is really what will secure this one for them. The flay by Hybrid. He may keep CosQ alive. XPeke. In fact, Hybrid's still alive himself. Everyone is just running around, dancing in this fight. No one has really died apart from that support of Hybrid now. Morsu gets exploded. Everyone dies in an instant. Lowland Lions all bite the dust, but Visibility, he's still pushing the top lane, and he took their inhib.
He needs to get out of there, though. That was a great play out of Visibility, but SOAS is here. Can he get it?
Well, the ultimate comes out, punches him in the face, and he goes down for the ace. 5 for 1. Origen again come out ahead in kills, but the first inhib just went down for Lowland Lions, simply based on map rotations.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a pause button here for Origin. They have to be careful now with that the super minions flooding into the top side of their base. Origin, they're still ahead by a lot of gold, but the critical damage has been done in that top lane, and it's enough for Lowland Lions maybe to pick up a couple more skirmishes. However, this all started really weirdly with Origin taking Baron and then not being able to take anything from it because Morsu defended the bottom turret. It's a very weird turn of events that the team that gets the Baron loses more turrets, but it's mainly to do with the fact that Origin took the outer turrets so easily that then they were trying to push in to the inner turrets and the inhib turrets, and it's difficult without getting the hard engage that you want. Origin kept trying to force those little fights. Yes, they've got them and they've cleaned up, but they've been very weak at the end of them. Again, they couldn't push anything from that fight. So Origin now, that they still have a lead, now that they get another fight in their favor, they need to try and get a fight here where Lowland Lions aren't pushing them the other side of the map, because it's only the split push that is keeping Lowland Lions in this game.
Yeah, they just have to play this game out smart, and if they can continue making these smart decisions, maybe they can keep themselves alive, as you were alluding to. But here comes the Baron, potentially, from Origin.
Speaking of split push, Irelia down in the bottom lane, the rest of Lowland Lions are shoving out mid.
Quickly, though.
Baron's dying quickly, it depends. Can Kyrie look to steal this?
He's knocked back by Amazing there. He does get the smoke screen as well. That will not be the smite coming down by Kyrie. He may be also picked up as they get all the CC down. Collateral damage over the wall by Niels. How much of their base going to suffer, though? Visibility is pushing, so is Morsu. They should be able to pick up this turret. Can they take the mid turret as well? Or will they just be caught on the back foot? 32 minutes into the game, the death time is going to be fairly long.
They have no elite turrets.
Bottom tower goes down as well. Was that Baron even worth it for Origin? Because Soaz will keep up the chase, but no one's really behind him, and he doesn't have a whole lot of CC to keep them in place. He has a flash, and he has a slight slowdown, but that's kind of all it...
The Lantern?
He has Lantern. That will be saving Morsu. The Shocking Orb also landed onto Malphite. And Lowland Lions make the best out of a bad situation.
So Origin still have Baron on all of their members. Lowland Lions did just take 3 inhibitor turrets down. They still have the inhibitor down in the top lane in favor of Lowland Lions. And they are scratching and clawing their way to second place here. They're still so far behind on gold behind Origin, but those turrets going down is going to pick that up a little bit. The gold is going to be less advantageous for Origin, but look at Morsu. He's going into the base. He wants the inhibs. He has enough damage on his own to do it, even without the armor reduction. They've taken a turret on the Lowland Lions side of the map, and now they've just got to stop the recalls. This is Morsu. Oh, he doesn't get the first one. Jumps back in.
Xpeke goes one-on-one. He gets the ignite down. Oh, it hits him with the ice shard as well. All that CC was not enough.
They may just lose.
Took down the inhibitor. Yeah, they might just lose. There's Amazing with the engage. Only knocks Swajani into the team. There's Soaz with a big ultimate onto free. Niels follows up with the collateral damage and the buckshot. A good ultimate by Kyrie will keep them in their tracks for now. But meanwhile, Soaz is still going deep, maybe too deep. He gets taken out by the Nexus turret. Here comes the barrel roll. He's keeping Kyrie away from his fountain, and he keep up the assault onto the Nexus turret.
Mid lane Baron minions to 2 super minion waves here, top and bottom. Origin are looking to close this. This is a little bit greedy. Lowland Lions are starting to respawn.
Kyrie coming in for the second engagement. Cosq there with the Eye of Destruction. Amazing, trying to do everything he can. He's tanking up the turret. They take one Nexus turret. The second one is low, but it is too much for them. 2 inhibitors down by Lowland Lions, though. That was very well played.
Well played. They're doing enough to stay in this game against the #1 seed playoff team here for the European Challenger Series. Origin are going to recall, reset, and try and get themselves in a position to end this game, but they have to now deal with 2 waves of super minions at the same time. Morsu does not have his teleport available. Soaz will be up his teleport in about 5 seconds, so it will be available. And Morsu's trying to get in for that 3rd inhibitor, but it's not going to happen right now. They have to play defensively for a little bit here on the Lowland Lions camp.
I think no matter what happens really here, you just have to compliment how Lowland Lions have been doing strategically in this game against such a top-tier team. They really put up a fight in this game. But it feels like Origin maybe just have a little too much right now. In terms of the engagement, they seem to be winning these head-on engagements fairly consistently, just if Lowland Lions can play around that.
Their desperation damage control has actually been pretty good here for Lowland Lions, that they've found pretty much a mile where Origin have given them an inch. And at this point, Origin still looking to close out the game. They are still ahead, but it's 35 minutes in here. One botched fight here from Origin, and as they show Niels in the bottom lane, we'll see what the response is from Lowland Lions. One botched fight out of Origin could easily end the game now with all of the inhibitors exposed in favor of Lowland Lions. They are not out of this one yet.
The same could be said for Lowland Lions. If they all die here, then Origin could just finish up the game. There's the ultimate coming in from Amazing there. Cairo is into the back line. He lands the ultimate onto Free. Morsu also follows over the damage. He's trying to get into the back line to deal more damage and take them out. But so
Big
with a
ult.
huge ultimate onto 4 players. He picks them all up, and Morsu was the only one remaining. All Peke needs to do is stop him from recalling, and they can push down the middle inhibitor and just pick up this win. Unless Morsu just goes 1-on-2. He jukes out of the way of the rest of the damage coming in here. Xpeke will try to juke away just in case Morsu tries to do the same. But he will bleed out from the Ignite, and the rest of the team is shoving down the mid lane. 5-4-0. Origin, what a performance.
Great performance when it comes to getting a regain of control of it, but Origin, they've looked a teeny shaky.
But they managed to take it home eventually. 37 minutes on the clock, and Origin reclaim a win in this one-on-one up against Lowland Lions. They lost the game yesterday, but they brought it home today. As you mentioned, Stress, it was a little shaky, but they took it in the end.
They did. Origin will close out the round robin 9-1. Lowland Lions looked good both games in the sense that their decision-making was good at different parts of the game. Origin, just the sum of the parts in that game seemed to overwhelm, and that's the problem that has been for the last 5 weeks for every team that's faced Origin, is the sum of Origin's parts in 9 games out of 10 has been far too strong.
Yeah, and it's very nice to see, in fact, because Niels was a new addition to the lineup. I mean, these players, yes, they were all LCS tier, but they were not all in the same team, you know? And now they've really found that synergy in the team, which allows them to come back from losing games, which is also the mark of a great team. And I think that will serve them well if they do make LCS, because if you can play from behind well, then that's a really nice thing to have in your arsenal. Because if you always lose when you fall behind, then, you know, you're going to find yourself almost in auto-relegation come the end of Summer Split.
Yeah, that is a really good point as well. When you look at the characteristics of teams and how they play at different situations in the game. So where does that put us? So we knew that both teams had qualified. We knew that that was the case. We knew that Origin was indeed the #1 seed team. But, you know, now that Lowland Lions have picked up that, well, didn't pick up that win, they're now still in this battle with Gamers 2 here.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the standings and how they're shaping up now after that second game of today. Origin are now 9-1. That's all their games completed, so it's not the perfect streak that they wanted, but it's pretty damn close. Lowland Lions are now 6-4. Gamers 2, they can potentially catch them here if they win their final game of the day against Mouse. And then they will win the head-to-head as they beat them early in the round robin, so they'll be the ones taking second place. But either way, Lowland Lions have managed to avoid Origin heading into playoffs. And with that game as well, it also means that tiebreakers are not a thing.
Yes,
so.
Indeed. Tiebreakers are not a thing. But the battle is still on for second and third. It's all on Gamers 2 now.
Yep.
That is, Lowland Lions can only sit back and put their faith in Mouse.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much faith they have in Mouse. But we'll take a quick break, and when we get back, Mouse